Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel where we talk about skincare, grooming, and sometimes hair, so if that sounds like your thing, make sure you are subscribed. Also, come and follow me on Instagram where I post a lot of stuff you're not going to see here on YouTube. I just want to start by apologising for my hair because I was supposed to get a haircut like a week before the lockdown happened in the UK. My haircut got cancelled, but I'd already left it 4 weeks to grow my hair out, so now my hair is just like sitting heavy on top of my head and I don't know what to do with it, but you know, could be worse. But anyway, I want to make a quick, it's going to be a relatively quick video about my favourite Blackhead products. This is more of an update because I've made so many videos about this before, but I do feel like I've managed to brush away all the gimmicky products and learn what really has worked for my oily skin. I don't get blackheads that often anymore, and I feel like it's because I've got my sebum production under control, which we're going to talk about in a bit, but also I find that during winter, when I'm a bit more oily, dehydrated, I get less blackheads. In summer is when I really start to get blackheads. But they're tiny little blackheads that it does take quite a bit of effort to see, and I feel like that's because of some of the more preventative products that I'm going to talk about. I'm pretty sure I do this in every blackhead themed video, but let's go through the difference between blackheads and sebaceous filaments. When people say that they have like loads of blackheads on their nose, they usually don't have blackheads. They have sebaceous filaments, which are these, and these are blackheads. These we want to get rid of. These we kind of have to keep. The sebaceous filaments are what you see coming off your nose when you use a nose pore strip. They're not really blackheads. But I know the majority of us don't really like the look of these sebaceous filaments, so whilst I don't think it's great to get rid of them, towards the end of the video I will talk about how I personally make them look less obvious. So I want to start off with a few blackhead prevention tips. Things to do, things to not do. So my first tip is to try not to remove these blackheads yourself. I know it's impossible because you just want to pick at them. I did do an extraction on myself maybe a year ago. It was for one blackhead. I used an extraction tool and a steamer. The problem here was, yes, it did remove the blackhead, but it also left me with some really red, raw skin that then eventually scabbed. Once that scab had gone, after about a week, I was then left with a dark spot for about 3 months. So it really wasn't worth that picking at the blackhead, when had I just used a couple of products, within like 3 weeks, the blackhead would have gone. My second tip is if you're like me and you get really oily skin, cleansing in the morning can definitely help. I'm someone in the winter who just splashes my face with water, if that, in the morning. Then in the evening, I do a full-on cleanse. As I mentioned, in the winter, I'm kind of like more on the drier, dehydrated side of skin. However, the moment summer starts, I'm oily as hell. So obviously in summer, I still do my usual evening routine. I do like to finish on a nice occlusive moisturizer. This does mean in the morning, I wake up not only with that moisturizer still on my face, but my oils, and of course, in summer when it's really hot, you're going to sweat throughout the night as well. These are all things that if you don't get off your face can lead to clogged pores, which then lead to blackheads. So in the summer, I do like to have a cleanse in the morning and then a double cleanse in the evening. My third tip is that it's important to exfoliate, but not over exfoliate. I feel like a lot of people, when they ask me about their blackheads, I ask if they're using a chemical exfoliator. They're like, no, I don't even exfoliate. And for me, that is the one thing that was a game changer when it came to getting rid of blackheads and preventing blackheads in general. Bha Salicylic Acid changed my skin. When I discovered it in the newer formulations of exfoliating toners, it was honestly just such a big game changer, not only for blackheads, but for the texture of my skin, the smoothness of my skin, the appearance of enlarged pores. It really did transform my skin. We know that BHAs are able to actually penetrate the pores. AHAs roughly work on the surface and BHAs go in. So it's a much better exfoliating option for those with oily, blackhead prone skin. My last little tip or bit of advice is that nose pore strips don't remove blackheads. As I mentioned, they remove what we think are blackheads, which are the sebaceous filaments, and there might be 1 or 2 little blackheads within the nose area. But even if you did have a full nose of blackheads, this isn't removing the blackhead. What this is doing is literally ripping like the hat off the blackhead and then leaving all that gunk still inside your pores. It's still blocked, it's still congested, just taking off that top layer. Whilst they're not the worst thing in the world, nose pore strips, I do personally find that my skin is a little bit dry and irritated even for the next couple of days, and even red. And I do feel like these temporary nose pore strips are a bit of a waste of time and energy when you can just be using products at work in the long run. Is that my hair coming out here? Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about exact products. I'm going to talk about exact products. These are products that have worked for me, and whilst I am talking about exact products, I've chosen these products because of their ingredients and how their ingredients worked for my skin. So the first product I want to talk about is Paula's Choice 2% BHA Exfoliating Liquid. For me, this has been a game changer. As I mentioned, salicylic acid, BHAs in general were, but this particular product, it seems to be different than all the other BHAs I've tried. So yeah, whilst BHA salicylic acid is great in general, this is just my current favourite. Salicylic acid, of course, has the ability to increase cell turnover. It's an exfoliator, that's its job, and helping remove excess oil and sebum production, both of which can lead to clogged pores and blackheads. Consistent use of a BHA, so 2 to 3 times a week, even once a week, depending on how your skin takes it. This not only can help with current blackheads, remove them over time, it's a little bit of a longer process, obviously, than having an extraction, but unless you can afford to go and get a professional extraction, I just wouldn't bother, and I'd use a BHA. Over a few weeks, the BHA will help remove those blackheads, but then also keep them away with consistent use. In the same kind of realm, I'm really liking a salicylic acid cleanser at the moment. It's something you use if you have more sensitive skin. When you use this cleanser daily, it does pretty much the same thing as a toner. It gently exfoliates and helps to keep the blackheads away, but this is the kind of cleanser I would use in summer as my morning cleanse. Only when my skin is super oily and I can have that daily exfoliation. I wouldn't ever exfoliate daily with an exfoliating toner because it's much stronger. Next up is niacinamide, and this isn't directly linked to the diminishing of blackheads, but it's something that helps in the long run because it's pore care. Niacinamide has been known to help pores look tighter. It helps with redness, uneven skin tone, but also helps balance out sebum production, which is one thing that us oily skin people can really struggle with, and why we tend to get blackheads more than dry skin people. For the whole maybe 2-3 years that I've been using a niacinamide serum, or even just introducing it in with my essences, it's really changed the way my oily skin works. In summer, it's less oily, it's much more predictable. I know I'm going to get oily at a certain part of the day, and it's usually towards the evening, whereas my skin used to just be oily all day. I do my skincare routine, step out the house, and my oils would just be going crazy. But since using a niacinamide serum, it's really helped with sebum production. I ran out of the niacinamide serum that I always use, and I'm trying not to buy more serums at the moment, so I'm using a niacinamide toner. Pretty much does the same thing. I feel like I get the same effect as far as the evening of skin tone and the control of sebum production goes. Retinol. So retinol basically works by regulating skin turnover. It's that simple really. Yeah, it helps with fine lines and wrinkles. But they also have that slight exfoliating property that can help reduce those blackheads and unclog pores, like the majority of the products in this video. So those are all the long-term ingredients. They really are the ones that have helped me massively, I feel. As azelaic acid is meant to be a good one as well. I've personally not used it for that. And I have to be honest, none of those products or ingredients were exciting. They're all things we already know about, but I feel like there are no quick fixes when it comes to the long-term results. And these are just really simple things that we can slot into our skincare routine that will keep our skin blackhead free. No gimmicks, no carbonated face masks, no baking powder, blackhead melting bullshit. Like, it's just stuff that actually works. So I did mention we're going to talk about the little sebaceous filaments on our nose and how I like to get rid of the appearance of them pretty quick. It's important to note that you don't want to get rid of these. We're going to keep them there, but we're going to make them look less obvious, and they're important. They do need to be there. This is also a very temporary fix, so I kind of like do this like before going out, like a big event, which I don't go to, but things like that. If you got like a date, for example. So one way you can make these sebaceous filaments look less obvious is to use a clay mask. Nothing special. It could be the cheapest clay mask you can get your hands on. Any clay mask with bentonite, kaolin clay in, all that's going to do is absorb the excess oil, the excess sebum that sits on our nose if you're oily like me, especially in the T-zone. So absorb that all up and kind of stop all that excess oil like highlighting those sebaceous filaments. It also makes the pores on your nose look quite tight. But this is really only something I'd recommend you do like once or twice a week, twice absolute maximum if you need to, because it can be quite drying even on us people with oily skin. Another exact product I love is by Peace Out. Peace Out Pores, I think they're called. These are their I don't know what they're called. They're called something. I'll put the product up here. But I ordered these from America. It was a little bit expensive, but I do feel like it's worth it. These are basically giant hydrocolloid, I can never say that, hydrocolloid patches. They're giant pimple patches for your nose. So just like a pimple patch, you can put them on in the morning before you're going out in the evening, or you can put them on in the evening, overnight. And just like a pimple patch, you're going to see them absorbing all that excess sebum and oil. If you have spots on your nose, it's going to help heal those over. The next day, you peel off that patch, you see all that white gunk, which is all that excess sebum, and your nose is honestly going to look pretty much flawless. Sometimes you do get those little wrinkly bits, like you've been in the bath for too long, you know, like you get on your fingers, but that literally goes within like an hour once you take it off. But yeah, your nose is going to look poreless. I absolutely love them. I would want more in a pack, but they are a really, really good product. But yes, they are my tips, exact products, and again, more of just a bit of an update of what I do personally to keep blackheads away. As I mentioned, I don't get them as much anymore. I do in the summer, but I do feel like it's because of these ingredients that I don't get blackheads regularly. Let me know your favorite products down below for blackheads, what ingredients you're loving for blackheads as well. But that's it for me now, guys. I will see you next time.